Following the tips in this video could make the difference of thousands of dollars every year with your solar savings. G'day everyone, Dan and Matt here from GI Energy. Today we're talking about how to use your solar and battery to power things like hot water, pool pumps and other large energy users. Not a lot of people are doing this right, I don't think, unless they're being explained at the design phase of the system. It's very easy to have your solar system installed and then just carry on doing things as normal. But we did a video a little while back, and I don't want to put you on the spot, you might not remember the numbers, but we'd calculated the difference between a sort of average system size of yours and then the way you were using it. And you were obviously doing everything right, being in the industry, but it was about $3,000 a year or something difference, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was
More than that different.
I think above that it was to do with the tariffs on, but that was just to pure offset of just using things smartly.
Yeah.
That's with an EV though as well, which obviously is becoming more common now.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is definitely relevant for this video.
Yeah, for sure.
So what we want to explain basically to people is how, once your system's installed, how to get it to run those big energy appliances like a car, like a hot water, like your pool pump. So I guess the easiest way to explain that is, even with a battery, your solar system produces energy during the day. First job of that is to go into the home or business and run whatever's turned on. Secondly, if you've got a battery, it will charge the battery. If there's no battery, it goes back into the grid for next to nothing.
Yep.
If you do have a battery and the battery gets full, then it goes back into the grid, typically for next to nothing, unless you're on a VPP, which means that you can trade energy with the grid at times where it's more valuable. So you could then potentially export in the evening for a lot more money, but you still want to use your excess solar during the day. So that's really what this is all about, isn't it? Being smarter about pushing the energy where it needs to go at the right time.
Yeah. I think the electrification has obviously been pushing this as well. A lot of people are moving away from gas appliances.
Yes.
And that's sort of first and foremost in their mind, that they sort of get a grasp of this.
Yeah.
But a modern system installed today has the capability to offset excess power to certain appliances. And the hot water is obviously the most straightforward one, I guess, to start there, because that can either be done just with a timer switch or a relay.
Yeah.
Or with certain systems maybe run through from excess solar as well when it runs through a smart pole. A lot of people will have their hot water on an off-peak tariff prior to having a battery.
Yeah.
Some still have solar with an off-peak tariff. Others would have had solar installed on a timer already, and it will run 9 till 3 or 10 till 2. So obviously you're trying to get it into that peak window in the middle of the day. But if you can prioritize it with a battery, it can make even more sense to the system and obviously save more money, because you're just utilizing that power as best you can.
Can you explain to people that haven't come across this before what the difference is between having a basic timer versus having it set up in the more intelligent way that you're describing?
Yeah, so a timer essentially replicates a controlled load or off-peak tariff. It just says, turn on at this time, turn off at this time. It may not heat for that whole window of time. So if you set it up from 9 AM till 3 PM, where most likely you're getting a reasonable amount of solar with a good sized system, at 9 AM every day, that element in that tank will start heating. If it's in the summer, it might only need an hour. If it's in the winter, it might need 3 hours. And then obviously that'll turn off, and it will generally be an element that's 3.6 kilowatts, unless it's been switched out for a 2.4 or maybe a different size, but 90% of the time it's a 3.6. So that just means when that timer goes on at 9 AM with that example, 3.6 kilowatts of power is pulled from whatever source that's available at the time and will heat the hot water. If you've got a more intelligent way of heating the hot water, essentially what you're doing there is you're programming the system to say, using the same sized element, 3.6 as the example, when there's in excess of 3.6 kilowatts of power being sent to the grid, if you've got a battery, if the battery's full, send that power to my hot water system.
Yeah, that could be at 9:30, it could be at 10 AM, it could be at midday.
Yeah, so if it's a nice day of weather, that will probably be at 9:30, 10 o'clock. If it's a day where it's been really overcast or rainy in the morning, that might not happen until midday.
Yeah.
It could be after, but that would obviously intermittently follow that curve of power that obviously comes in waves. So throughout that same 9 to 3 period, you'll achieve that same heating of the hot water system, but it would all be from excess solar that ordinarily would be worth a couple of cents a kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
Rather than obviously absorbing everything and using it as smartly as you can. So obviously on a really cloudy or rainy day, there's a fail-safe that heats anyway, because your hot water needs to.
Well, it's a good point. So you're not going to get home and have no hot water.
No, there's a backup scenario there where it says, okay, it's now 1 o'clock. I haven't achieved that full heat cycle. We just need to source that power from wherever it can be.
And if it's grid power, so be it.
Yeah, so if you've got a battery, that might take some from the battery.
Yeah.
But again, if you've got a properly sized solar array and a modest sized battery, you're probably going to get that power from one of those two.
Yeah.
An absolute last resort would be from the grid. If you've got a hot water timer in the middle of the day and it's pouring with rain with no battery, that power is obviously going to come from the grid because it's not intelligent.
Yeah.
It's just a set time, and that can work fine for some people. But obviously the goal is to try and make best use of the solar you generate.
And we're talking about hot water there, but we can do this with EVs.
Yeah, so I guess EV is probably the next one that, not necessarily that you charge it every day, but it's a fairly large load. So that would then depend on the type of charger that you have, or if you just use a PowerPoint charger that's obviously got a lower level.
Yeah.
That would obviously be a setting within the car rather than the system because it's not smart. But if you've got a wall charger that's the same brand as the battery solution that you have, everything talks to each other. If you've got a battery that can actually control a third-party charger, it still achieves that same smart charging possibility. So then you just set the preferences in the app, or we set them to say, charge my car first, then my battery, charge my battery first, then the battery, charge from excess solar, charge at this time window if you're on a certain tariff structure.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I try and do mine. On a certain tariff, I say take everything you possibly can at that time, if it's solar and or grid, because it's, again, just making best use of everything. So the charger brand is quite important,
Yeah.
because a lot of people will already have a charger installed, of course. So then it's a conversation about the correct battery solution that can make that charger smart, if that's what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
If you're happy for it to charge whenever, it's not as obviously imperative, but again, it comes back to making the system as smart as it can be.
Yeah. Building the whole ecosystem from the ground up is obviously the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
But as you say, if you've already got the charger there, that does change things.
Yeah.
Also for your pool pump, you can do this with your pool pump too. They're probably the three main ones.
Yeah. I guess just the things that operate every day.
Yeah.
The pool filter, you would generally time through the unit itself. A lot of people now have pool heating. So rather than the tubes or the matting on the roof, they might have just the standard sort of floor heater, pool heater that looks sort of like an aircon.
Yeah, I've got.
And they can, with some battery systems, can be integrated as well. So it's following that same, okay, I've diverted this to my hot water, next is my pool. And here's a preference that number one is hot water. I think for most people, they'd want hot water before a warm pool.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's someone out there that wants it the other way. But you can set, obviously, the scheduling for that. And that gap is just going to widen more and more between how much more valuable that solar generation is than export. So these little tweaks, they can be huge. Like
Massive difference for savings, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do it over, most people buying solar and battery are looking at it over the minimum 10-year period.
Yeah.
The savings over that 10-year period can be tens of thousands.
Yeah.
Depending obviously on the size of the load and the battery, but that's not unrealistic.
No.
It's a huge difference.
Well, if you're doing your hot water, your pool pump, not heating, you're using easily into sort of 10 to 15 kilowatt hours a day.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Maybe more if it's in winter. Obviously, your pool would run less, but your hot water would likely need a lot more power.
Yeah.
Location dependent as well. Roll the EV in, and that could be double, if not triple that.
Yeah.
On how many Ks you drive and how frequently you charge.
And it saves you giving it away for nothing as well, basically.
Exactly right.
Very little.
Yeah. I mean, my export at the moment is 2.7 cents a kilowatt hour.
There you go. It's next to nothing.
So a lot of days, if you ever allow me to work from home, I might use 60, 70 kilowatt hours on those days. So I could charge my car.
I have to get an 8 high version of you in here to do the.
There you go, mate. And if it's the weekend, we could have many days in the summer close to 100 kilowatt hours a day, or in excess of 100.
It's a lot of power, isn't it?
Pool, aircon, hot water, car.
Yeah.
you know what I mean, oven, whatever else. But if you can condense everything into that window, you can be talking about $30 a day on those days.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah.
So there's reasonably straightforward ways of doing this for us.
Yeah.
That we can discuss and obviously implement with very different things that are obviously in the home. It's just about having that conversation about what you have, how you'd like it to operate, that obviously fits in with your schedule and whatever else, to make the system as smart as it can be.
So again, we talk about this all the time, comes down to the correct design, the correct install.
Yeah.
It's not just the products that matter, it's the company installing. You need to be having a significant consultation period with a installer or a consultant that will sit down and ask you these questions, identify the loads, and work out how to design a smart system for you that's actually going to give you a really good return on investment rather than, you know, double the time to get your money back.
Yeah. I spoke to someone last weekend at a kid's party that they put in a SunGrow battery, awesome battery. We use loads of them.
Yeah, they're great.
And he said, I'm still using loads of power at night. And I was like, well, how could that be? You've got to think it was a 25 kilowatt hour battery. Hot water's still on controlled load.
Right.
Didn't check his bill. Must have been visible in the board.
Of course. Yeah.
Now someone's got to go back out there to do that. It's not necessarily a very quick and easy job, and it's a sort of call out job almost, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. At the time, that would just been like, yep. Again, it's probably not that, but
No, it needs to be done properly the first time.
yeah. And it now that will obviously occur. That could be another couple of dollars a day, like because it's got a really large solar array, so the battery's filling up, which is awesome. But then they're still exporting 15, 20 kilowatt hours
For next to nothing.
for next to nothing, and 7 or 8 a day could have gone to the hot water.
Yeah.
Just really simple stuff that comes back down to that. Yeah, as you said, the design and the consultation. And I'm sure there's jobs that we've installed where we haven't gone through absolutely everything, and something might be added later. And with the systems we install, you might add a pool heater later. Give us a call. You know what I mean? See if that can be integrated into it, because a lot of systems it can be.
Yeah.
Or you might move away from gas in the future and do these, you know, exercises one at a time.
Yeah.
We want to design a system that can incorporate future changes as well. That's really important.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that covers it pretty well.
Yeah.
We're going to put our battery guide download in the description to this video, as we always do. There's a link there you can click and get that free resource, which a lot of people who are looking for solar and battery, I think, find quite helpful. If you'd like to get in touch with us, we can do a full consultation with you free of charge. We're obviously solar installers. We're doing this since 2011, so we'd love to hear from you. But more than that, hopefully you've got some great information from this. If you've already got a system installed, you may be able to tweak some things. If you're looking to install one, now you know what to look for. So thanks very much for taking the time to watch.
Thank you.